Hi guys, this is Lashette from Scarlet Moon Creations, and I am back, and it will be my mid-June wrap-up, where I talk about the first half of the books I read in the month of June. Please forgive me as I am refilming this, so I am already irritated. It's hot, my window is open, so you might hear some ambient noises from the street outside. I will also encourage you to look into my description box to find links about what's been going on with SCOTUS, the Supreme Court rulings in their recent session, and how the last 2 weeks in particular, they were, feels like, turning back the time and overturning previous rulings that, in my opinion, and many others, were beneficial to society as a whole. And now, not so great. Things like overturning Roe v. Wade, making each state the ones who are deciding whether abortions can legally happen or not. And because of this overturning of Roe v. Wade, now there are several states that are like, no, abortion is now illegal, essentially. And things like tribal sovereignty is in trouble in their next session in October. But read about the different things that are happening and ways you can support, such as donating, but also spreading the word. Please look in my description for those links. Now, let's talk about the books. I didn't wind up reading very many in June, which is fine. I also found out yesterday that I read 2 that I didn't need to, or I read 1 and then started another that I didn't need to read until next month. So there's that. The first book that I completed in the month of June was The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This was the group pick for May, actually, or was it June? Yeah, for May, for the Swoon Sisters book club. And this is a contemporary romance. We're following Clara, who is from Toronto, or a big city in Canada, and she is the daughter of a florist, her mother, and a Alaskan wild pilot, her dad. Clara has been estranged from her father, who lives all the way in the Alaskan wild for most of her life, and while things are in a flux in her busy Toronto life, she finds out, she gets a phone call from someone in Alaska and finds out her father has cancer. So, trigger warnings, content warnings for that. They don't really go into detail about his illness or his hospital visits, but there's the death of a character in this, FYI. That is a little spoiler, but if you need to know, you need to know. Anyway, so while she flies up there with her stuff, this guy who works for her father, Jonah, they don't get along almost instantaneously. Jonah has a little bit of a chip on his shoulder as far as Clara and girls like her is concerned. He's very disapproving and of Clara in particular, not, being in her dad's life. So there's that. The relationship is between Clara and Jonah, so I guess this is kind of enemies to lovers. I like their relationship. I think they have chemistry. I like how it builds over time. And I do want to continue this series because by the end they do get together, but it's kind of like a happy for now. And the next book will continue, and I'm curious. This wound up being a little deeper than I was expecting, and I like that. I like the look into the Alaskan wild, the native peoples that live there, and the inclusion of kind of a mildly influencer lifestyle. All of these things I'm aware of, but don't know much about, so it was really cool learning about. And the whole charter pilot business and that kind of thing was cool too. There was some steaminess. It's not overall high steam, but when they do have sex, it's pretty nice. It's some good stuff. So I appreciate that. There were some instances that I was uncomfortable with. A couple of, mostly it's Jonah assuming that Clara is looking at the peoples in their town, village, I don't know what you call it, looking down on them, and so like his perception of how she's seeing them is really negative. But there is one instance where her thought processes are really derogatory, just one, and I was like, girl, what? Because she's not empty-headed, she's not a ditz. She does stuff for social media with her friend just because, and it's clear from the beginning the friend's more into it than she is, and that Jonah is assuming stuff about her from her profile, all that he sees there, and didn't look up anything else that she does with her life. So I just she's not ignorant, she's not all about her and thinking about nothing else. So I didn't understand why she had that thought about people she didn't know and the lifestyle that they lead, because it doesn't pop up at all throughout the rest of the book. Like it's just, I don't know, it was weird and uncomfortable. So I wound up giving this a 4.5 stars. Book 1 in the Simple Wild series. I think there's 4 books that I saw. The next book I finished is The Best We Can Do, an illustrated memoir by Dibo. I'm probably totally butchering that. Please excuse me. This is a graphic memoir read for the Realm of Comics book club, and that was also a main pick that I was reading late. So it's an intimate and poignant graphic novel portraying one family's journey from war-torn Vietnam from debut author Dibo. Basically, she decides that because of wanting to understand her parents as people, as individuals better, she decided, and because they are both reticent in talking about themselves and their feelings and their thoughts, she decides to kind of put together this like family history thing, talking to not only her parents but her grandparents that are still around, her brothers and sisters, and others. And we come into the story at a time where Dibo is married and having her first child, and going through that somewhat traumatic experience. I think all of those who are aware, not just capable of, but aware of the realities of childbirth can probably agree with that. The story is not told in a linear timeline. Like I said, we start while she's married, grown, having a child. Her parents, her grandparents, her siblings are all adults, and their lives are different than they were over the years. And the way she pulls things together is tying her experiences with something of her parents or grandparents' experiences in the past, like to make that connection anecdotally, but also like I understand because of this, or this is my perception of how you are, and this is what shaped you, if that makes any sense. So I appreciated that storytelling type, but also it made it sometimes it might make it it might make it a little bit harder to read if you're not used to that kind of thing. It's not exactly flashbacks, so I don't know how to put it. I hope that made sense. But anyway, I learned a lot about the Vietnam War. I am an 80s baby. Definitely not something covered in like elementary or middle school. Know it happened, but in high school, we might not have fully gotten into it, and I went into high school from 1998 to 2002 in New York City. So things were different then, and certain other areas of the world were the focus. Vietnam is still probably to this day seen as kind of like a shameful blot on our war history. Or as Americans, it kind of gets swept under the rug. There are some apparently very major historical points that she mentions, and I was just like, I don't know what that is. There's apparently this very famous photo that won the photographer a Pulitzer Prize that a lot of people assume is one situation, but even the photographer at the time was like, this is something else. This is not what you think is happening. And he was, I guess, always ashamed of that photo, and I don't know that photo. We did the live show, and I was just like, I don't know. I still don't know. So that's me needing to learn more. But finding out about, you know, what her father's background and why he acts the way he does now. She's like, she was always afraid of her dad growing up, and that fear kind of stays with her as an adult. It's not as sharp, but like, he didn't do anything to them, but the way he acted was very much about survival and teaching them to survive, and having like not really thinking about doing anything else other than survival. And then learning about his background, she's like, oh well, that explains that. And her mother being from a different background, and all of these situations, like she couldn't be with her when she was in the hospital giving birth to her child. She's been through several childbirth issues, and those are just small examples, but it was very interesting to learn, and I feel like I like the whole graphic memoir thing, particularly about instances with a historical importance that I may not know as much about. But I wound up giving the best we could do, and I love that title, by the way. 4 stars. Sorry, 4 stars, and I do recommend it to everyone. The next book I'm going to talk about is My Androgynous Boyfriend, Volume 2. I started this series last December and wanted to continue. This is by Tamaku, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right either, but enjoyed it. It's a contemporary manga, fictional, very lighthearted, not too much substance. We're following Meguru, who is the androgynous boyfriend, and his girlfriend, who is like his biggest hype man. She is an office worker. She works for a manga magazine, and that she came across Meguru on social media, and she likes those whole like androgynous boys or whatever, and she hooked up with him like to talk or whatever, as a way to kind of bring him to her magazine's attention and do an article about him or something like that. And their relationship blossomed from there. Meguru is just fine dressing the way he does. It's not cross-dressing exactly, but he's androgynous, so he can wear female clothes or male clothes. He likes wearing makeup and dyeing his hair and all of that stuff, but he identifies as male, as gender he was given at birth. So there's that. And his girlfriend likes to fade into the background. She's hoping to like prop him up, make him famous or whatever, but he's just like, I'm happy as I am, like talking about the stuff I like, doing what I like, but I don't need like to be super famous. So in this volume, we come across now another androgynous boy, Sasame. Sasame is in Meguru's talent agency now, but he doesn't like being an androgynous boy, looking cute or dressing androgynously or even in female clothes or whatever. He wants to change up his image and be more tough and manly like his idol. And when the talent agency wants to put them together, at first he's like no, but then he finds out Meguru is already social media friends with his idol, so he's like, I'll go with it for that. And yeah, this issue had a little bit more depth than the previous one, because these things like come up, important topics come up, but they don't delve into them. It's not dismissed, but it's just like, this is a thing that exists. But I think in this one, it's just a smidge deeper than the last one, if that makes any sense. And it's still like light and fluffy and a good palate cleanser. I wound up giving this a 4 stars, for it is what it is, and I appreciate it for what it is. 4 stars. The last book I'm going to talk about in this video is one of my anticipated releases for 2022. I am doing the Beat the Backlist, where it's like read only books from the backlist from the year before, 2021, published 2021 and before. So with the exception of my anticipated releases, and I did not do an anticipated releases video because that's too much extra work, if I'm being perfectly honest. So anyway, The Romantic Agenda is the newest release by Clara. A couple of years ago, she released my favorite book, I think, of 2020, Let's Talk About Love. And in this one, we're back again with another asexual character. This book was also one of the group picks for the Culture Readathon that I'm very low-key participating in. So this is a contemporary, I don't know if I want to say romance or not. It could be, but the romance is kind of we're following Joy, who is a black woman and asexual, who is in love and has been in love with her best friend Malcolm. In the not too distant past, Malcolm was affianced. He was engaged to be married, and his fiance broke up with him and sent him a nasty letter or email, whatever, also to Joy, saying that basically she felt like he puts Joy first and he should be putting her first, that they actually love each other and they should be together and whatever, right? She said it much longer and nastier, but you get the gist. So he's been heartbroken, but at the beginning of this story, we find out that he has asked Summer to put a long weekend on her calendar from Friday to Monday, 4 days, And she's thinking maybe he finally realizes that he is in love with me and we're gonna go off together. Turns out Malcolm has found another love of his life and has not told Joy. And he asks her to go on this camping trip with him, Summer, the love of his life, and Summer's best friend, Fox. Malcolm wants Joy to distract Fox so he can woo Summer, and Joy hates it because 1, she doesn't like camping, and 2, she's in love with Malcolm, doesn't know what to do. So, yeah. FYI, this is interracial romance. I wasn't expecting that, but I probably should have, because Let's Talk About Love was interracial, but I completely forgot that part. Summer and Fox are white people, so there's that extra thing. I didn't like Summer. She's the type of person I wouldn't like, but I did like Fox. He's a teddy bear, and that poor man. I hope to get another book of more Joy and Fox, because the majority of this book was Joy getting over Malcolm, and that was annoying. I just want more of her and Fox together. I'm hoping for a sequel, but don't think we'll get one because Clara Khan does standalones only so far. So it's just the majority of the book. Joy was awesome, right? It's all from her perspective, and we get kind of a really cool Ace character who is sensual and like showing off her body and being sensual, or those that are deemed sexual clothing sometimes, and it's kind of flirty or whatever, but just is not interested in sex. And that was cool to see. The other perspective of asexuality was also Malcolm, which was a different type, which feels awkward to say, but it is what it is. Just the majority of the book, Joy spent like in love with Malcolm, hoping that he would love her, expecting him to kind of turn her down, and she would have to just live with her love of him unrequited for the rest of her life. And then boom, towards the end we kind of, oh wait, but I think I like Fox, because Joy doesn't date anyone ever, so her whole thing was Malcolm. And it was just like, Malcolm is annoying as a person in general. The way it turned out, everything wound up well, but Joy and Fox got together at the very, very end, and I would like to see their relationship like unfold. That is the last book I finished. I gave it a 4.5 stars. Despite everything, Joy was a joy, if nothing else. She carried that book, but she was the main character. So anyway, that's the last book I'm going to talk about in this video. Leave me a water emoji, whether it's a wave or a water droplet or rain or something, in the comments below if you would like to support but don't know what kind of comment to leave. Otherwise, let me know how your reading went, if you read any of these books and what you thought of them. If you agree with what I've said or disagree or have any other thoughts, I would love to hear them, because that's why I share this content. To blab on about the books that I'm reading, but also to hear what other people think. So guys, please like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you are new, hit the notification bell so you know when my next video is coming out. The June wrap up in particular will be coming soon. Obviously, June is over as of you watching this. Share this video in my description down below. In addition to the important information I mentioned before, are links to me on my social media channels and my Storygraph and Goodreads if you'd like to follow me anywhere else. as well as a 10% off discount code to my Etsy shop, where I have a new product and make bath and body products for health and wellness, spiritual purposes. Guys, thank you as always so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.